I'm going to do a review today of the Savage 220F. It is Savage's 20 gauge rifled shotgun slug gun. And I've had this gun for a few years now, but it's such a good gun that I wanted to do a quick review on it. It's mated with a Nikon Prostaff BDC compensating scope, which I'll get into after, and I'll just take it to the range at 100 yards, and I'm sighting it in for deer season, so I thought I'd just do a little review as well. Also, from last year's buck I shot with it, actually, there's the remaining slug that's left from the buck. Good retention, really good expansion, as you can see. I'm shooting out of it these Remington Accu Tip. They are 260 grain sabot tipped slugs, 3-inch, and they go. They're saying like 1,900 feet per second. So that's the number I use to use on the BDC scope. So they're pretty powerful. A little cartridge here. You're shooting a big hunk of lead at almost 2,000 feet per second. So, and they're incredibly accurate. Like when you say rifled shotgun, you're thinking, okay, well, you know, you could shoot 100 yards with it or whatever. This thing is shooting accurately at 200 yards, no problem. You're hitting a 3-inch target at 200 yards easily, and it's maybe one and a half MOA at 100. So extremely accurate. Anyways, we'll get to the range and we'll see what it can do. So one of the neat features I have on this gun is this Nikon Prostaff BDC bullet drop compensating scope. Unfortunately, Nikon's not making them anymore, so that's too bad because I have them on two guns. I have it on a 30-06 and also on this shotgun. But what makes it really interesting is basically you zero the gun in at 100, and then you can create these little shooting cards. This was like I keep them in the butt of the gun, but you create these little shooting cards, and based on what the bullet is firing, you can chrono it and the weight and everything like that. There's a program that Nikon has, and you create these shooting cards, and they're for all the different zoom ranges you use. Obviously, they're all zeroed at 100, so the initial crosshairs are zeroed at 100, but then basically, as you can see, you can very, very quickly. Let's say this is at 3 times zoom. Not sure you're shooting that far at 3 times zoom, but let's just say you were. So you can go from 0 to all these different pips: 169, 240, 300, 378, and then the bottom pip 445. Now, I don't think I would shoot 445 with a 20 gauge, but you can go from basically, let's say this one here, which I use all the time, the 9 times. You can go from 0 to 254. All of those are deadly ranges for this type of caliber without doing anything but knowing the distance to your target. So you have your laser rangefinder, you see a deer, you range find to it, and boom, you check the pip or memorize the pip, and boom, you're on target, right? Like just like that. There's no holdover or any of the other old shenanigans that that you had to do in the past. So really a great system for quick, accurate shooting. And like I said, this gun shoots easily accurate to 200 yards. So with a lot of killing power still. It's just shooting a giant, lead slug downrange. One thing I do like about the Savage guns is their Accu Trigger. It's sort of, how to explain it? It's almost like a trigger take-up before it goes into a hair trigger. So you basically pull this little metal piece until it engages with the main trigger, and then the trigger becomes extremely sensitive. So it's a good way to have a very, very light trigger, but have the safety with that little Accu Trigger system in front of it. So yeah, it's an interesting way that they did that trigger system. Well, all ready to do a few test shots just to make sure that I'm going to hit the deer come shotgun season. And you might ask yourself, why not just use a rifle? Why bother with a slug gun? Well, Yeah, I have rifles, but unfortunately in this area, you can't use them to hunt deer. So we have a specialized shotgun season only. And of course, as usual, to get around the rules, these kind of specific guns were created. You know, you could use your duck hunting gun and put buckshot in it, or just some regular slugs through a non-rifled barrel. But these type of guns were created to specifically kind of get around those rules. So what this is, it's a rifled barrel 20 gauge that shoots these Sabot slugs that are designed for a rifled barrel, and they're extremely accurate. The nice thing about this gun here, the 220, is that it's 20 gauge, so the recoil is light. It's a light gun for deer. It's more than enough stopping power. One shot, one kill, the deer insta drops. So you don't have to worry about that. It's got huge penetrating and bullet expansion power with these specific Remington Accu tips. So anyways, I'll put a few loads downrange and see how it goes. So first shot with the 20 gauge. I haven't shot it since last year, but I'm just sighting it in basically to make sure that it's shooting straight. Maybe to make sure the scope wasn't bumped. Anyways, 100 yards, cold barrel, which is what you're gonna hunt with. So I'm not even gonna take any more shots. I know it shoots straight, but there you go. Almost edgeable. Boom. It's just a really great gun. I mean, that's what its capabilities are. So just one note: the only quibble I have with this gun is the box cartridge. Sometimes when you load it, it holds 2 plus. You can have one in the chamber. Sometimes when you load it, it gets, I don't know, it's really stiff or hung up when you're trying to engage it into the gun. But I mean, that would be the only quibble I have with this gun. Otherwise, it's just it's not a super expensive gun. I guess once you made it with a scope, I mean, you are getting close to $900, maybe $1,000 now. But it's just a super deer gun. I guess you could probably tackle something heavier than whitetail. I mean, at short range, this thing's packing a punch, 2,000 feet per second with a 260 grain bullet. That's a lot of energy at short range. So, I mean, if you want to do any long distance shooting, like past 300 yards, which I would say most hunting is not taking place, then obviously this isn't the gun for you. But if you want a light recoil, accurate, super accurate slug gun that, if you're mandated by your hunting, legislation in your area, you have to use a shotgun, then this is the gun. I wouldn't get a 12 gauge version of this. Just the lightness, the low recoil, the accuracy of this 20 gauge is just phenomenal.